Is playing V-Rising solo worth it? The short answer is yes, but the long answer is it depends. I'm going to give you my review of the game from a solo PvE perspective, but if you're a PvP gamer, don't worry. V-Rising does have a solo PvP game mode, so this review can still give you insight into the game to see if it's worth it for you. Let's get into it. I'm going to break this up into the good, the bad, and the conclusion, starting with the good. This game functions as an RPG survival game hybrid, which I think brings out the best of both of these genres. It's not really like Minecraft, Valheim, or Ark, where the whole point of the game is just survival craft with a few big fight milestones. V-Rising to me focuses more on the in-depth individualistic combat system. This is not to say there's no resource gathering, there very much is, yet I've never felt less bothered by it than in this game. One trip to the respective location is always enough to level up your stuff to the next tier in the game, often leaving many extras to use on your servants. Another welcome thing worth pointing out, it's not one boss per equipment tier. There are 57 bosses in this game, and you can often fight 2 or 3 back to back with the same gear. The focus on killing this many bosses really breaks up the often slow grind that many other survival games suffer from. The number of bosses is not the only thing that helps with the pacing of the game. There are multiple systems in place to help players do more of what they love and less of what they don't. Some of these systems are servants, traders, and worker blood. These systems are often forgotten by players, leading to a slower grind, but it speaks to the wonderful pace of the game that even though many players do not use these systems, the game still maintains a great flow for them. Servants can be geared up and sent out on missions to collect resources for you. Merchants can be used to buy individual items like books so you can bypass RNG if you've been unlucky, or even just buy materials if you'd rather not go through the work of getting them. Worker blood gives you a very large percent increase to resources that you're mining or collecting. If you use all of these appropriately, you will progress at an astounding pace through the game. You'll never really feel a roadblock. But again, even if you don't use them, you'll still progress at a pretty comfortable pace. I haven't really heard too many complaints about it. While on the topic of time, it's very known that not everyone has all the hours in the day to play games. Thankfully, for those that only have so many hours, there are many settings that you can change to provide yourself with a better experience. A very common time-saving setting is allowing teleporting with materials. Whether you have a solo world or you set up a dedicated server for you and your friends, you can alter the server settings for everyone, changing the difficulty to meet exactly what you want. A very hard server where the bosses have special mechanics, throw it on brutal, and make it even harder by turning up other settings. You want the opposite? A relaxing time where you get more materials and things smelt faster? Alter the settings and put it on relaxed mode. And of course, if you just want the default experience, just throw it on normal and go crazy. Server settings are pretty commonplace in survival games, but it's still a good thing to have, because you really notice it when games don't have it. Server settings are lifesavers. This game can truly be what you make it. This seems like a good time to mention that while I did fight every single boss solo and play the game basically alone, I was in a server with friends. We always just parallel play on the same server for the random chance of passing by each other and showing our castles to each other. I mention this because if any of you have played Valheim, you understand the hassle of wanting to progress by killing a boss but needing to wait for your friends to all be on at the same time. You don't have that problem here. It's really up to you on how solo or how cooperative you want to play. If you are interested in a server, I use Shockbyte for all my gaming servers, and I actually have a link that you can click and help me out. They gave me a 25% off discount code for the first month, but don't use that one. Use this one, Experience 2022. This code should give you 50% off for the first month. I'm not sure where this code comes from, but it's the one that I use for most games. You should always give it a try because 50% off is pretty big. But anyway, my Shockbyte link will be on the screen and in the description if you're interested. Jumping back into the review, there are 3 more things that I want to mention in the good category. The first one is what got me into the game, the base building. The base building has to be my favorite of any survival game. My castle should be playing in the background right now. Just look at it. It's simple enough that anyone who builds a castle will have something that at minimum looks decent, but it's complex enough that with some time and creativity you can really make something amazing. There are tons of decorations to use and many different plots of land that give you different shapes to work with. I am by no means the best at making castles, but I am proud of what I do make. I really can't speak enough about how amazing this base building is, so if you're a fan of giant gothic castles, you really should give this a try. Next, I want to talk about the combat. Unlike other survival games, you have a plethora of options. There are 11 different weapon types in the game and 6 different spell schools, each with 8 spells of their own. I always find myself doing a mix of blood and storm magic, but that's just because I'm a big fan of lightning. On top of how much you can customize your fighting style, there's also a jewel system allowing you to augment and improve those spells that I mentioned. Sadly, there are no jewels for ultimate spells, but the ults are so good on their own that I think jewels might just make them broken, so they might not be able to do that. These jewels have stat rolls on them as well as multiple different effects, allowing allowing you to have something truly unique. But it's not just the combat on paper that's amazing. The combat itself feels good and looks great. I always describe the combat as similar to Hades due to the sort of bird's eye view and aiming with the mouse, but it really does feel great. It's by far my favorite combat in any survival game I have played. I don't really want to go too deep on it, but I do want to mention that the game also has legendary weapons that have special effects on them. And the last thing I want to mention is the attention to detail. As a vampire game, you expect some things like the sun's going to be a problem and there's going to be a lot of blood related stuff, but the vampire aspect is not just some coat of paint. You can tell the game was made with it in mind every step of the way. This blood ball right here in the middle of the screen is your blood pool, and depending on what you drink from and the quality of the blood, you gain passive buffs. If you're able to get a hold of a 100% quality blood, it is quite the buff. It's very noticeable different. Taking it one step further, about every in-game month there's a blood moon, which makes the buff from blood even stronger. But it's not just you that uses blood. Your castle lives off blood essence. You use blood essence to convert your prisoners into servants. You drink the blood of the bosses you defeat to improve your abilities. The devs have done an amazing job at giving you this really immersive vampire gameplay, and its attention to detail really speaks to me. Now, what would a review be without some criticism? It would be unfair not to mention the problems that other gamers have faced, even if I haven't. I can say that I've never seen bugs in this game personally, nor do I see people talking about bugs happening, so I would say the game is pretty stable, so don't worry about that part. But these are problems that I've seen mentioned decently commonly on Reddit or Twitter. So the first one is that a little past the mid-game, people run into a wall where you have to grind resources to be able to progress. I was actually able to mostly circumvent this by hoarding everything I found and using servants and the other systems that I mentioned. But I was still aware of where this was. It wasn't like I didn't notice that there was a period of time where things got a little tighter. I label this as a problem because it's a one-time thing. It's not like you can just change the server settings to fix this one part, because you'll end up messing up all the other parts of the game. Hopefully this part does get adjusted for a more smooth experience, but it's pretty deep in the game, so you don't really have to worry about hitting it early on. The next problem I see mentioned is the travel time. Personally, I think this is just an opinion. I've never really had an issue with it, as travel gets easier as you progress, but you're also able to make teleporting with materials allowed if you're on a server that you own. I personally don't think the travel is too much, but maybe I'm just used to Valheim, where travel is a whole actual voyage. Another problem I see brought up is boss difficulty. As someone who platinumed Elden Ring, I love a hard boss fight, but I'm aware that I'm in the minority here. This is again an issue only because it's a few bosses. You'll have no trouble with more than half the bosses, and then you'll hit like 3 or 4 that just feel like they were made to make you mad. There are ways in the game of handling this. You can wait for a blood moon, get 100% blood, use potions to make yourself stronger, and a couple other things. And this is usually enough to absolutely walk any boss in front of you. But for a new player who doesn't even know about these systems, it can feel like there's nothing you can do, which leads me to the next issue. The game does not tell you everything. For instance, garlic. The game never tells you what garlic does unless you hover over the status effect, which a lot of people don't ever see. At max garlic stacks, you'll do 50% less damage and you'll take double damage. This is a giant nerf to yourself that you won't even know about unless you know what garlic does or know to hover over it. Well, it's obvious to some people. Some other people are never going to see these small things because they don't think it's important. There's also a potion of garlic resistance that people are likely to just not use because they either don't know what garlic is or they don't know that the potion lasts a full real-world hour. This, as well as some other small details of the game, just doesn't really do the best at telling you, can leave some new players feeling lost. I would imagine most people will figure it out on their own eventually, yet some new players may quit before they're able to. Now, the last complaint I'll leave you with is storage. While it did get a really good overhaul in the launch update, which I think is enough for me, many players want the system that allows you to build with or use resources so long as they're somewhere in your castle. As it is now, you have to go through the chest and find what it is, put it in your inventory, go to the workbench you want to make something at, and then make it, and then go back to the chest and put the leftovers away. I think the sort and quick move button makes this very easy to do with no real trouble, but I don't think anyone would complain about being able to pull from storages anywhere in the castle, so I'm not sure why it hasn't been added. And now we're on to the conclusion. I love this game. It is my favorite survival game, and while it has its flaws, it's rare you see an indie game be made so well. I cannot recommend this game enough to anyone that likes vampires, survival games, or even just games with good combat and hard bosses. This video was actually hard for me to make because I didn't want to stop playing the game, which is why I'm making this video 2 weeks after the official release. I have 250 hours in this game, and I'm about to have more when I start my brutal playthrough with some friends. If you need a server, I have that link in the description with the 50% off code. But otherwise, thanks for watching and happy hunting.